All right. It looks like we're live and live, baby. YouTube, if you're in here, you're gonna have to forgive me because once again, running the show by myself. So we're gonna get this started here in just a second. You know what we're doing? We're pulling up the Ferg box score, baby. There it is. All right. God, YouTube, this is gonna be so boring if you're watching this in the After Effects. I apologize. I'm running this by myself, so I got to get the stream going. I got to get Ryan and Matt's notes if Matt decides to actually send his notes. I got to get the stream broadcast out. Man, it's tough here being solo, and it's tough being solo after that game. Whew, the game has me low. Wait, do I see 5 people in the YouTube chat? Let's go. Welcome back, everybody. We made it. We made it to basketball season. Man, it's been so long. I can't even remember where the virtual tumors corner thing is at. It's hard out here. It's hard out here for a pimp. All right, that one I'll have to do for now. It's not the new good one, but it's gonna be what it is. See, YouTube, the annoying thing you don't know is I gotta get this link up and going before I can actually start blasting it out. So that's the hard part for y'all. Y'all just gotta sit here and wait and pretend like I'm interesting as I'm just staring into the void. And you know what? I'm gonna send Matt and Ryan and Jackson the link to this chat, and we're gonna see if they decide to come on. I don't think they will. I think it's a little late. But in the meantime, boys, girls, NBs, welcome back to the Jungle Auburn podcast. I'm gonna pull up the chat here on my phone, so I got it. Ooh. Oh, now it says there's only 2 people in here. Well, we did our best. Pocket Watch. Pocket Watch, of course you're back. All right, man, let's get to it. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, NBs of all stripes, but especially tiger stripes, we made it. We are back. Auburn basketball is back. It probably didn't start the way that you wanted it to, but guess what? The Jungle Auburn podcast is back in your ears, and we are so grateful to have you. We're grateful to have Pocket Watch here in the YouTube live chat. We're grateful to have all of you that have stuck with us through these last 4 years. The podcast is going through a little bit of a transition. We'll talk about housekeeping at the end because what you are here for is basketball. And tonight was not real basketball. We're coming off an exhibition match in Birmingham where your Auburn Tigers fell to the Oklahoma State Cowboys 97-95 in overtime. Why they bother playing overtime in an exhibition match, I will never know, especially since the big news out of the night is going to be starting power forward Keyshawn Murphy's injury that happened about 3/4 of the way through this game. It was a non-contact injury. He was going to help, I believe, Kevin Overton up off the ground and slipped in what looked like a pool of sweat. This is what happens when you play basketball in a crappy dance hall in Birmingham, Alabama. But you know what? The fans loved it. They got to meet the players ahead of time, and here we are on the losing end of an exhibition game, in which this new team, they did not look great. You kind of expect that in an exhibition game. You expect that a brand new coach with a brand new roster is going to play around with a bunch of lineups. We saw crazy minutes from Blake Michalek, which we were told that we were going to see. 7 total minutes from a former walk-on. I keep hoping that the Auburn Tigers are going to get to a point where the walk-ons only play in the homecoming game. We're blowing teams out by 90 million points. It looks like we're not there yet. It looks like Blake's understanding of this team and the system and what we're trying to run is still just so good that, especially early on and probably throughout the non-con, they cannot afford not to play him, just because it seems like he knows where he's supposed to be and his defense. He understands his defensive assignments, which we're going to talk about the defense, but holy cow. A lot of rust, on a lot of these players, and a lot of kinks in the sheet on a brand new team. We are returning one player from last year's Final Four squad, starting point guard Tahad Pettiford, who also had a miserable night tonight. It's going to take a little while for this team to get it together. And, this wasn't South Central Louisiana State, the Mud Dogs. We were playing Oklahoma State, a team that went out and in the NIL era, in the era of the transfer portal, they went out and got themselves some good quality players, including a guy. I gotta find his full name here because they've got his last name listed in Roy, but he had been a player for Green Bay and was shooting the lights out before getting injured last season and missing most of the year. But he was averaging 25 points a game through 11 games, playing 33 minutes, and he absolutely shot the lights out tonight. I mean, he was 10 of 20 from the floor, 5 of 10 from the 3-point line, including, if you can go back and look at the shot chart, I might be able to find this somewhere on here. But his shot chart is absolutely insane. I mean, he is a very Steph Curry moment where he's taking those shots you want him to take, and he's making them anyway. And when guys are on a heater like that, there's not a lot you can do about it, especially as a new team that's still trying to figure out their defensive rotations. Let's talk through Tahad's game tonight. Tahad pretty good from the free throw line, all things considered, 7 of 9. He grabbed 5 rebounds and had 2 assists, but he was in danger of fouling out late. He missed a lot of that second half after picking up his 4th personal foul. He did have 2 pretty bad turnovers, including a turnover to start the game. We won the opening tip of this game, and when Tahad went to go and grab it, he stepped on the out of bounds line. And that really set the tone for just how out of sync this whole night was. Auburn led in this game for a grand total of 2 minutes and 52 seconds. So not even 3 minutes of lead time, including overtime where we got outscored 5-0 in the first 2 possessions. We were chasing the whole time. That's a position you don't want to be in. If Matt was here, he'd be talking all the time about how you want to be ahead by 1 or 2 possessions when you get to that final TV timeout. It just felt like we were chasing this whole game, and every single time we got ourselves back in it with a chance to take the lead, we made some kind of critical mistake. And a lot of that happened with Tahad off the floor and with Caden Magwood running the point. And that's no slight at the freshman coming in. He's clearly very talented. He played a hard game tonight, but I expected more out of Todd Pettiford than 2 of 9 from beyond the arc. That's pretty miserable 3-point shooting from him. But even worse than that, 4 of 16 from the floor. So he's getting his shot, and especially he's getting his shot at the cup inside of 5 feet and just not finishing today against an undersized Oklahoma State team, particularly late. Oklahoma State had 3 guys foul out before overtime even started. And that was where Keyshawn Hall really talked over. We're going to talk about Keyshawn Hall in just a minute, but let's talk again about the point guard situation. We also, as I mentioned, saw Caden Magwood run the point tonight. Pretty solid overall. He looked like he belonged there. He played 15 total minutes. He only finished with 3 points, but he did hit a big 3-pointer late, which I thought was important. It's always good to see that ball go in for him. And unfortunately, 2 turnovers from him. So that's 4 turnovers from your starting point guard versus only 3 assists. Not winning basketball. As a team overall, we finished with 13 assists on 26 made baskets. We outshot Oklahoma State. It was more obvious towards the end of the first half, but by the time we get to overtime, they kind of got it a little bit closer there. We outshot Oklahoma State 73-71, but they outmade us 34-26. So we took 2 more shots than they did, but they made 8 more shots in the less shots that they took, which is just brutal. They shot 36% from three. The 3-point line continues to be a kryptonite for Auburn. I don't know what it's going to take for us to figure out how to find guys that can hit and how to get them their shots, because we're seeing that Bruce Pearl style in Steven of everybody has the green light to take a shot. And we finished tonight shooting 30% from deep. But a lot of that comes from the guys that you want taking those deep shots. Kevin Overton, 1 of 4. Todd Pettiford, 2 of 9. Caden Magwood, 1 of 3. So, not terrible, but again, like not the numbers that you want to see from your lights out shooters. I think this is where missing Simon Walker is probably going to hurt us. We're going to get him back, I believe, sometime in the next 5 to 6 weeks. So we'll have to see if he can make those improvements for us. Keyshawn Murphy, as I mentioned, went down midway through the second half. He finished playing 21 minutes. He was 2 of 6 from the floor for 5 points. Nothing too impressive from him, except that we continued to see him in that sort of 5-out offensive style. He was handling the ball at the top of the key a lot. So you like to see that Steven is not getting away from that. But boy, does it make you appreciate the absolute wonder that we had in the Twin Towers last year with how Dylan Cardwell and Janai Broome could handle the ball in that 5-out style offense. We may start to see less of that as we go on. It'll be interesting to see, especially because we got out rebounded tonight. Pretty bad. We finished with 17 offensive rebounds to Oklahoma State's 15 offensive rebounds. Part of that was just how many shots we were missing. We were out rebounded overall by 9, 52-43. And it really, really showed on the defensive end. Oklahoma State grabbed 37 defensive rebounds to our 26. So Oklahoma State was really limiting our second chance opportunities, and we were giving Oklahoma State plenty by not boxing out and not closing out. That's going to be something this team has to work on. But I think that's also something that's really going to improve as you see Steven begin to figure out what these rotations are like. He threw a bunch of lineups at Oklahoma State. I will say this. That was the interesting part for Oklahoma State tonight. They had 3 guys, right, play 42 minutes, 36 minutes, 34 minutes. That's kind of insane for an exhibition contest. And what that shows me is that that coach and that team wanted this win more to establish what their potential could be, right? I think Stephen Pearl and Auburn came into this game trying to figure some stuff out. It's just an exhibition. The win doesn't really mean that much, right? I mean, you want to get out of this game healthy and with a better sense of what your identity is. And unfortunately, I don't know if we did either of those things, and we got the loss, which is part of what makes this so hard to stomach. But I will say, late, the big guard, the big newcomer, Keyshawn Hall, absolutely took this game over. And I don't want to read too much into it because, again, like I said, Oklahoma State had 3 guys foul out from their interior defense, and that was when Keyshawn Hall really attacked and really did a ton of damage there in the second half. But the one thing that Keyshawn Hall did that will absolutely warm my heart is he made his free throws. 10 of 14. He hit some big ones down the stretch to keep it tied, to keep us close, to get us into overtime. We went down 3 and he went and got 3 the hard way, banging inside. I mean, it's what you got to do when the opportunity presents itself to attack. He took over and he attacked the interior, and it was a beautiful thing to see. If that can continue through SEC play, Keyshawn Hall is going to shoot a bajillion free throws this year. He's going to make most of them. It's a pretty good feeling. there's another play that we got to talk about. Sebastian William Adams, Sway, big 33, 33 on your program. Number one in my heart with the way that he played tonight. The hustle play was absolutely there. True freshman played 31 minutes, grabbed 9 rebounds, and finished with 6 total points. The part that hurt was he was only 2 of 4 from the free throw line. You hate to see that. He was only 2 of 6 from the field. He missed his only 3-pointer. You want to see a little bit better numbers there, but he had some good big to big passing with Keyshawn Murphy, which you love to see. That was a trademark of Auburn's offense last year, was our big guys being able to recognize each other crashing towards the rim when we got into those double teams on the inside. I think given that we're a little undersized compared to last year in the front court, you're going to see a lot more of those double teams. And our big guys, they're going to have to find the people crashing and get those open looks. Let's talk about Elijah Freeman's game. Elijah Freeman getting a ton of love on the social media and not unearned. The Division II guy has stepped up. A lot of programs wanted him, and he played 30 big minutes for the Tigers tonight. He finished with 16 points, but not an efficient night for him. He was 5 of 13 from the field, including having the ball in his hands with a chance to tie at the end of the game, and didn't quite work out. Only 5 of 8 from the free throw line. That's not going to cut it for me personally. We're going to hope to see him continue to work on that. He only grabbed 4 rebounds at 6'8", but he had 3 assists. So you really, really like the court vision from him there. He actually tied Keyshawn Murphy for the team lead in assists with 3. I mean, that's another thing that we hate to see tonight is that our guards didn't seem like they were passing the ball particularly well. Again, some of that is due to these weird rotations, trying to figure out who fits together, who plays well together. And, the player closest to my heart, we're number 2, Abdul Bashir, still coming back from injury, easing his way, and he only played 14 minutes tonight, but he grabbed 2 big rebounds. He hit a great shot inside, 1 of 3 from the floor, 0 of 1 from 3. I'm going to hope to see him be a guy that can come in off the bench and hit some big shots when he's open. I think Oklahoma State did a pretty good job of that. I think when they got open looks, they absolutely knocked him down. And again, you got to hand it to Roy, man. He shot the lights out tonight, 5 of 10 from 3. You really hope that he didn't peak too early, because this one doesn't count for anything. This doesn't count for tournament seeding. Some people in the AP might decide to rank Auburn a little lower, but they're doing that anyway. What are you going to do? Polls only matter so much in college basketball. Filip Jovic. Let's talk about our Bosnia Herzegovina guy, man. He's an interesting player. He came in, hit 3 of 4 from the free throw line, including 2 big ones late. He was 1 of 1 from the floor. He only took 1 shot tonight. Grabbed 3 rebounds, had an assist, but I wanted his hands to be better. I think one of the areas where we really lost in that rebounding was, Jovic is 6'8". He's a big guy. And when he's banging inside, we need him to be somebody that can secure those rebounds and get our offense moving into transition. That was probably another area that was really disappointing for us tonight. We heard all this offseason, we're going to be fast, we're going to be running gun, we're going to score. And then if we can lock in on defense, we'll be okay. We won fast break points 18-17. That is not nearly a big enough advantage for us to be attacking the way that we want to. And then when you look at second chance points, we had 19 second chance points. So our first shot, not really going in, not really hitting the way that we want it to. We want our first looks, those diving, dashing cuts to be big, fast, coming at you downhill and in a hurry. Auburn's got a lot of time to figure it out. Don't read too much into this. It's an exhibition game. Like I said, there was a lot of weird rotations, a lot of Stephen Pearl trying to get to know his guys. And well, we got to love a little bit of interruption there. Let's see if we're even live streaming. Still. Oh, no, we're still live streaming. Are we back? YouTube, can you see me? Don't worry, I'm going to cut this out when the podcast goes. The host will be right back. Man, you love to see that. All right, Pocket Watch, as we can see. I cannot wait to have to go back and edit this so that we can skip this gap out of the podcast. Oh, the good times. Um, yeah, look, it's an exhibition game. Auburn's looked bad in exhibition games before. We looked pretty bad against Furman last year in that exhibition game. Let me say, we didn't look bad, but we did not look like a team that was primed to make a Final Four run. And I think the important thing from this exhibition game is that we learned from it. We've got another exhibition game coming up against Memphis at the end of the month. That's going to be another chance for us to learn a lot about this team. You want to make sure that Keyshawn Murphy stays healthy. He's going to be a key part of this team going forward. Um, you know, as much as I wanted to, I don't hate the Blake Michalek minutes. I think he can be a Lior Berman type where if we're using him in the right circumstances, I think he can get us enough on the defensive end that he's worth having out there. But man, what Auburn was missing tonight was offense. I mean, you go back and look at the shooting numbers 36% from the field, 30% from deep. We got to have some guys that can score. And we needed those guys to be Keyshawn Hall and Tahad Pettiford. Keyshawn answered the bell tonight. Tahad did most of his damage at the free throw line. We're going to need him to hit more from deep or just not take so many shots. We can't have him shooting us out of games, especially early. But don't read into it too much. We're glad to be back. We're glad that the Jungle Auburn podcast is here. We're glad that Mr. Beautiful is in the chat. We're glad Pocket Watch is back in the chat. Mr. Beautiful, I could not agree more. The Murphy slip did not look great, but the fact that he stayed on the bench makes me feel okay about it. I think it was probably just a strain. He's been dealing with some knee problems in camp, so we know that this was a possibility for him. I think, I'm knocking on wood over here, my lovely wooden desk. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think we have too much to worry about there, but you want to make sure that he's available for Memphis because you want to start getting these rotations down and figuring out what the second platoon looks like, who's subbing in where, who we're going to keep out there the way that we did last season. A lot of what we would do was leave Janai out there after that first rotation and bring in four new guys around him. So what's that going to look like this time? Is that going to look like Tahad playing an extra rotation? Is that going to look like Keyshawn Hall playing an extra rotation? Is that going to look like Keyshawn Murphy having to shoulder a big load there? I mean, we saw he could move the ball pretty well tonight. You do love to see his strong passing. I love 3 assists from the big man, even more than I love him grabbing 3 rebounds and banging inside for 5 points. So we got a lot to learn about this team. But as I'm wrapping up the podcast here, let's talk housekeeping, everybody. Everybody's least favorite part of the podcast. I regret to inform you all, my fellow co-hosts have all retired from the podcasting game. They wanted to go out on top. They wanted to go out with a Final Four, potentially a national championship. We had Ryan down in San Antonio, ready to record live. And, like last year didn't quite end the way that we wanted to, but it was a magical season. Jackson and Matt are both married now. They got some kids on the way. Everybody's moving on with their lives, except for me. So I'm still here with you. I love the idea of doing this. I loved listening to it when it was Matt and Jackson. I know how it feels to wake up and feel like you got a personal voicemail from your friends talking about the basketball game. I don't want that to go away. And if you don't want that to go away and you don't mind seeing me as the solo host, hopefully bringing in some special guests. Hopefully we get Shooty Hoops, Will, Pablo, maybe Clint from Auburn Uniforms, a couple of these other folks that have popped on before. If you are a fan of the podcast and have ever thought about wanting to do an episode, who knows? We may throw you an audition. We'll see. But one of the other things we want to work on this year is developing some of the outside stuff for people. I think one of the reasons why people like this podcast and why last year was our biggest year ever is when things are going great, you love to have a community to celebrate and talk about it with. And we want the Jungle Auburn podcast, in whatever form it continues to take, to be that for everybody. So we're looking at opening up a Patreon for the podcast to give us a little bit of a membership tier here and get folks into a Discord where we can all chat together, possibly open up a WhatsApp group with me and the boys. Because don't worry, even though they've retired from the podcast, the group chat is still very much alive, which means those three have to listen to my insanity throughout the game nonstop. And I know you all want in on that insanity. So you can tell me how I don't know ball and I don't know what this basketball team is doing. If that's something you think would be fun, We'd love to get you to sign up and have you participate and continue expanding this community so we can keep bringing people together to love Auburn basketball. We have lived through the golden years. Bruce Pearl has taken Auburn basketball from the gutter all the way up to the mountaintop twice. We have been to the Final Four twice in the last 10 years. And, you know, put tonight in its proper context, I have a ton of faith in Stephen Pearl. I have a ton of faith in this roster to turn around and get it right and make the tournament and make it Auburn's fifth consecutive NCAA tournament. Little old Auburn getting penciled into the NCAA tournament again. Can you ever have imagined that you would be here? I mean, I went to Auburn back during the Tony Barbie days. And the best part about Auburn basketball back then was DeWanna Bonner leading Auburn women's basketball to a championship. And look, the Auburn women's team, they're up and coming for sure. But Auburn men's basketball is still in the golden age. We are still a program on the rise, in my opinion. We still got top tier recruits coming in. It's worth staying around and staying invested in this program and staying invested in this community because this is fun. And if it's fun for you, we hope that you'll stick around this season and we can take it to the next level and have even more fun interactions. And with that, everyone, good night. War Eagle. We'll get them next week. All right. Look at that. Jackson's here. Oh, oh, Pocket Watch says, oh no. Yeah, no, I feel you, Pocket Watch. Look, it's going to be a bumpy transition, man. You know, covering 31 games of basketball is it's tough. And it's especially tough when you got some new life responsibilities. You know, Jackson's doing some big things in his media career. Jackson was the one who had the idea to start this whole podcast. And you know, Matt's got some other big stuff going on in his personal life. He says he's retired. I don't believe it. I think if things are going well enough and there's some exciting matchups, you know, I can almost guarantee you if Auburn and Tennessee is a ranked game, we can probably get Matt back on the podcast for that one. He loves to hate on Tennessee. We'll do a season preview at some point. I think I can get Ryan and the Norman brothers on for that one. And that'll be pretty fun. Maybe we'll bring Shooty Hoops Will in. Man, I can't believe we got 8 people in here at 11 o'clock on a Wednesday in October for a basketball podcast. This is fun, and this is why we do it. So, Jackson wants to know, how do the Nike uniforms look? You know, the white ones, I'm gonna feel like a heretic for saying this. The white ones almost have too much orange. That's my personal opinion. I think the blue ones are incredible. I think the orange ones look tight. I think the white ones need a little tweaking, but that's just my opinion. All right, everybody. I got to see if I can piece this podcast together where the recording cut out in the middle of it because my internet sucks. War Eagle, and we will see you again soon. Good night, everybody.